This is our mobility, flow, and balance, and actually, it is the last recorded class of the year. So thank you for joining me. We're going to start right off with our book balance work. So grab your book. In the event you do not want to put the book on your head, don't worry. The balance aspect work is still going to be present. The book just makes it a little more challenging. So if you have a mirror, go put yourself in front of the mirror so that you can at least get the book started in the right spot. And begin your walk. You don't have to have a whole lot of space. I want you to walk like the word that just popped into my brain is like regal. Walk very like you're walking and you have an audience, okay? And you're trying to have poise. So elongate your spine. What are you doing with your arms? They can hang by your sides. If your arms are just in hang mode, bring your attention to what direction are your hands. Because sometimes our hands are palms rotated back, and that just confirms to you why you might have some shoulder issues, right? So you want to roll the shoulders back, let the arms adjust. As you roll your shoulders back, try not to, you're not trying to pull them back so far that then it's like you're puffing your chest forward. There's such a combined effort between retraction and depression. So where your chin sits plays a huge role in what you feel when you glide your shoulders into the right spot. So now bring yourself back into your working space, wherever you're going to be. Go ahead and put your legs together. You can take your fingers, put them on your chin. I'm going to turn to the side so you get a really good angle of this. Okay. So intentionally, I'm letting my chin go to a place that is not the right range of motion. And I'm going to use my fingers, pull belly in first, squeeze buns, push, gently glide your chin back. And when it comes back, you'll actually feel it slightly depress. And now that the chin is there, reset your belly to spine. Try to pull your buns under nice and tight. When you pulled your buns under, did you feel your body weight shift in the feet a little bit? It should have. All right, let the chin glide forward. Pull it back, pull it back, pull it back. The move here is actually called a chin tuck. And you don't have to use your hands. You're just going to glide forward and back. But the gliding back should make you feel like if we were taking your official measurement, like everything about your body just regained its full extended position. When your head is forward, there's something else that goes forward too. And generally it's the hips, like your whole middle body slides forward. So when you pull your head back, you should feel like if you had a helper that they're gently pulling your hips back, your legs get straighter, your command of all of the muscles into your core get active. All by that one little adjustment. Try it. Glide it back. Even if you didn't try to activate your abs and your glutes, do it again. Let the head sink forward, pull it back. And now you're in place. So can you take one leg, step it forward? I'm going to slide back so you can see my feet. I'm in a dominant one leg stance, but the other leg, it can help, right? When you put that leg forward, did the chin go with it? Pull it back, right? Tapping foot. Keep pulling the chin back. Keep getting the abdominal lengthening, right? And now take your foot, tap it. So depending on which leg you're on, You'll either be tapping at 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock. All right. And go back to the 12 o'clock. There you go. This is all balance work. Mobility, flow, and balance. Tap it to 3. How do we get the leg to tap back close to the 6 range? You are going to soften your stance leg so that you can take the other leg, even if you end up bending the other leg, just to test the waters. And can you get the foot to tap back? This would be where a mirror comes in handy, because if you were looking at yourself in the mirror, you wouldn't be able to see your foot, because if you see your foot, you're not actually at 6 o'clock. And now that I have my legs in the true 12 and 6 o'clock position, I can now start working my 6 o'clock tapping foot into a longer stretch back. Oh, pull the belly in. Did your hips want to rotate? Right? Square your parts up. Stand up tall. Try to keep your 6 o'clock tap going. Wow. Can you feel that bun hard at work? And now bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. Relax. Your leg number 1 becomes this like reference point for what do you feel when you step out of it? Do you feel your lumbar? Were you able to get into 6 o'clock? Because if you can't, don't worry about it. Go put yourself next to your sofa, your wall, a chair, right? Here we go. I know I just keep feeling that thing slide. I don't know that it necessarily is, but stand up tall and tap. So you're at your 12 o'clock. Maybe you don't move beyond 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Is your chin jutting forward? Pull it back. Pull it back and pull it in. And now go to your 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock. You're doing that lateral tap. So already your muscles are going, ooh, we're working. Maybe go back to your 12 o'clock. From our 12 o'clock, we're going to go back to 6. Okay, so get there. Start softening your stance leg. Tap back, tap back, tap back, push. Now go for the lengthening of the leg. As you lengthen the leg, try to keep your hips square. And this one is so much more of a challenge for me to get it and to stay long. Like when I go into doing my 90-90 sits and the stretching for the QL and the SI, I always feel one side more than the other. And this is very revealing. My hamstring on my rear leg is so fired up, even though my leg is straight. You'd think hamstring only engages, right, with a hinging leg, but it doesn't. Push, push, push. Pull the belly in. Make sure you're not crimping across the low back. Start bending your front leg. Let yourself relax. Walk out of it. We are going to get the arms to float into crisscross. And when you open them, turn the palms, really turn them, keep the shoulders down and try to float your fully extended, lengthened fingers, thumb away from the index finger if you can, and crisscross to the front, alternating crisscross, lowered arms as you float them open so that you don't arch your back. When the arms pull back beyond the side body line, you have to be very careful to not pinch and project the chest forward as a means of getting your arms further back, right? So there have been times when I'm in training and I will put somebody against a machine so that the machine gives them a, we're going to bring ourselves to stop. We can't necessarily put ourselves against a flat wall, right? Because when your arms extend, we want them to come back beyond the body line. So if you had a way to support yourself where you had a support from behind the head all the way down the back body line, when your arms moved back, you would be able to tell if you were cheating because your hips would pull away from your support base. So I have to give you this visual reference of how do you create this imaginary support behind you so when you move your arms past the midline of your body here, that your hips don't drive forward. There we go. Squeeze your parts. Pelvic tilt. You are alternating your crisscross. Hopefully you're back in your little chin tuck. And pull the arms open, bend them, fingertips up. You're going to take your hands, try to spread the hands a little bit wider than the elbow joint. This letter that we just created here with our body is called a W. So gliding, it's a version of a snow angel. And I'm going to show you the side angle too. So here would be where we backed ourselves up into our wall. Pull your head back. What would be happening if we were actually on a wall? The backs of the hands, the backs of the forearms, the backs of the elbows would be gliding up and down the wall while the rest of your body was touching the wall. That would be the hard part. Most people's arms want to be at this angle where the elbows are pulling back because it's really hard to get your hands and elbows in that vertical line. 5 more. Your shoulders have to stay depressed and retracted in order for you to move your hand in line with your elbow. Wow. 4, 3, 2. Why am I keeping the book on our head? We're almost done with it. Relax the arms because the book kind of pulls the integrity, because if you can move, if you're without the book, your head can sit way forward of what your arms are doing, and it just puts too much stress on your shoulders. So with the book, it cleans up your form a little bit. You're done with the book. All right. Now, grabbing your chair, your strap. Let's just see what happens. If you're opting for your strap, there is the trial and error. Trial and error before, I'm going to turn this so that I have the backrest handy. Trial and error, but I will tell you the little bit of time that you spend now figuring this out will play a role into the success of you possibly doing this on your own, which is what I would love, right? So one foot is the anchor foot. I'm putting my anchor foot into the small little loop, right? And this is the precarious part, right? Holding on to your wall or your chair. You gonna start close so that you're not fighting the setup. You want your foot that's on the chair to be fully on your chair. Okay, so pull the other leg back so you get some tension in your most ideal alignment. And this is why the chair comes in handy. In your most ideal alignment, the legs are tracking in a straight line. Because if we had a fixed object that we had just attached the strap to, it would be in a direct line to our stretching leg line. So do what you can to get anchored. And it's only the ball of my foot. Like I could have put my entire foot into the band and maybe that feels more comfortable to you. So you've got more anchoring. Right now, it's just the pad of my foot. And what are you doing with this band? All right. Does it matter if the band is above the ankle bones or below them? Try to position that band so it's coming around the underside of the bone. And it's not going to be exact. You just want it to be a little bit lower versus high. All right, so here we go. The heel is fully on your chair. Nothing about this will be painful, okay? Push forward. How far forward can you get your knee to drive over the toes? And here's where you go, oh, okay, I actually can go further, but my legs are too far apart. So try not to lose the band. And if you're not using the band, no big deal. You're still doing the same thing. You can bend the back leg. If you bend the back leg, that does not lessen the tension if you're using your band. Okay, so now bring yourself down to good support, no heel hanging off. Maybe one hand's on the back of the chair and one's on the front seat. And you're just going to let that knee push over the toes and hold your stretch for a second. Your back leg does not have to be straight. If you bend it, that just allows your front knee to have a little more flexion to it. And here's where we hold. And because the chair, right, has give to it, your foot, your toes may be starting to kind of roll one way or the other. If you could take and separate each little toe and align those toes so they truly are tracking and not rolled one way or the other, that's ideal. And as the body just settles into the stretch, whatever version, however much support you need, you're just hanging on to this. The strap gives you a different and deeper stretch because it is joint opening for that little hinge area down there. And there shouldn't be any pain. Push out of it. Leg number 2. All right. For this leg, I'm going to put my entire foot in my band just to see if it feels different. So this is the stuff that I do when I'm in my own training mode and I attach my bands to posts, right? You just have to find the right angle, set it in, slide the foot forward, start your push, pull the other leg back, right? There we go. Now, I've never seen the band distraction done using your own body as the anchor, but because I want this to be part of our training for whoever can do this with me, I've been in my mind processing how do we adapt this. Okay, so you're in forward push. Your band can always be readjusted, right? It does need to rest flat. Give yourself as much support as you want. Press forward. Look at your toes. There we go. Stretch them and lay them flat. Now, there is something that I often forget to not really, it's not that I don't consider it. I sometimes forget this thing about body mass, right? So as you're floating into your position, if you're able to get really good forward draw, but the knee flares out and you've still got good forward draw, that is not good. We are always trying to practice tracking. We want to continue to reference your hips push back. You can get as flush onto that thigh as you can because we want the knee and the foot and the hip and the shoulders right now. Everything is in a particular, I call it track. Bend the back leg if you want, right? When you bend the back leg, we don't want that knee floating out to the side. Keep your heel flat on that chair. So this is not about how deep the back knee can go. It's about how forward we can rock the knee over the toes on the front leg. And you've got to count for 5, 4, 3, 2, rock back. This is not your average bear's training, okay? We are doing super specific things to help us with some problems that tend to occur as we get older. Now, set your band off, okay? I'm going to use my Eric's pad. I realize not everybody has an Eric's pad. Don't worry about that. If you have a fairly dense, large pillow, put it down. It's going to feel weird what we're going to do. You need a wall or a chair. Okay. So you have these muscles in the front of your leg, anterior tibs, peroneals, whatever, however you want to call them. They're large muscles for the limb. it's a long length muscle for that lower limb. Okay, so here we go. It's going to seem like oh, maybe this is a calf raise, okay? Some of you have done all this stuff with me before, but I want you on your pillow and I need for your chair to be in front of you because there is this slightly precarious feeling that's going to happen when you stiffen up your legs, pull your buns and drop your shoulders, right? So no collapsed body. You're going to look at your feet and you're going to say toes, lift and down, lift and down. Say, Michelle, why would we want to do more lifting if every step we take puts us in a similar position to this? Your pillow is providing a position that without the pillow, we're going to do it without the pillow too, and you're going to see what happens, okay? But in my experience, I have witnessed people's feet be extremely overactive. The toes are overactive. So if you were on the floor and you could pick up your toes, but the rest, that joint didn't have any mobility to it, it would look like you were doing what we're doing, except you would be overtraining the toes, the extensors. So we want to work the muscle in the front part of the leg. Okay, so here we go. Everything's tight. Try not to bump the butt back. This is also what I see a lot of as a means of trying to rock the toes up higher. So stiffen up your parts. Without a doubt, there should feel like you're doing muscle work. And surprisingly so. And the straighter your legs, the more that muscle work will transfer all the way up into your nice strong quads. Pull your buns under. And now look at your feet. When you lift your toes, are your feet rolling? Is there such a weakness that your toes kind of contort themselves and then the foot rolls? Put your, like, this is a hard thing to adjust. If the big toe is rolling, right, so that the foot is kind of collapsing and rolling out to the side, you have to, it's a sensory thing. You have to figure out how do you get your little toe up as well. And now 5 more. 5, 4, they should be kind of on fire. 3, 2, and release. Walk it off. Whew. Before we go into the next phase, we're going to sit on your chair in the seat and we're going to do that little stretch for the top of the foot. All right, so you're seated, nothing aggressive. Take one leg, push it through the chair, and you're sitting on the kind of the front edge of your chair. Start sliding the leg forward, and you're sliding and you're trying to push the toes down as you slide forward, and you'll reach a point where you feel like you're getting a little stretch, right? Keep pulling it, pull it, and then release, other leg. I spend a lot of time figuring out what is the body's path of least resistance, even with something like this. And what would that be? It's important that you don't, like, even though there's more stretch, if you roll and get the smaller, the, third, fourth, and pinky toe in it, not at the exclusion of the big toe not getting its pushed down too. So, like, try to square it up, make sure that there's good pressure on the big toe as well as some big toe, Maybe then you can roll the knee out back to the big toe. Like, we don't want the body just to willy-nilly do its thing. You can guide it to be specific from part to part so that nothing is excluded, and release. Wow. Okay. Back to your cushion and your chair. Okay. So now you're going to slide your cushion closer to your chair so that your feet are now on the back end of your cushion. And with the Eric's pad, the odd thing is that the front of the pad will lift up off the floor, but you've got your support of your chair. So just know that, you're not going to roll your ankles or anything. Okay. So how much foot do you need on your pad? I always like to put like a third of my foot. I want that pad kind of right under the ball of my foot. Again, look at your toes. What are they doing? What are your ankles doing? Before we ever even load, what is the body revealing? If the feet have rolled and your big toes don't want to do their load, you have to look at them. You've got to square your parts up, all right? Maybe before we even start trying to lift our heels, you might be looking at the screen now going, I see her legs moving, but I can't really tell what she's doing. Okay. If you intentionally let your ankles roll towards each other and then pull them away from one another, you will also notice that your kneecaps roll in and turn out because it's all part of this hip mobility, quad strengthening, and control. But meanwhile, I'm not letting my big toes leave the mat, even though I'm rolling. And somewhere between the two extremes of having the ankles collapsed and then the feet externally like loaded, there somewhere between those two extremes is neutral. So that's an evaluation you have to make on your own. Roll a few times, go extreme roll, and find center. And now from there, squeeze your buns, pull your belly in, shoulders down, up. Here's what the pad is providing for us right now. Our ability to get, it's called pre-stretch, with the tall of the foot elevated and the heel down. Your body is starting in an extended, elongated position that it cannot get to when your feet are flat on the floor. So we are now working more of the calf. Check back in, look at your feet. When you pull up, do the toes roll and shift the load? Because you want to draw the ankle area so that everything is stacked like rods. And you might find, oh, my big toe. Wow. If you put your ankles right and your feet aren't all curled up under you, your big toes will finally have to do what they're supposed to do. And as soon as you load that right, you will feel muscle work in a very strange part of the back of the ankle that tends to deal with plantar fasciitis. So here we go. 5 more. Pull. Keep looking down at your toes, even though that breaks the line of your neutral, because I want to make sure that your toes do not get to cheat. Okay, 2 more. Wow, it's intense. I hope it's not just me. Pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, release, walk it out. How is today's session kind of turning into like a strength training and abilities? It's not, it's just activation. So let's not confuse them, right? 1 set of 15 of something isn't really considered strength training, but it is awareness. So move your little cushion. I'm going to face you now. I did mention that we were going to do a second set of our toe lifts. Okay, so I don't know how close to get to you. Look down, set your feet hip width apart. Here's why you need your chair. because when you go to rock your toes up off the floor, I'm going to show you wrong. When you go to rock your toes up off the floor, guess what your body's going to want to do? This is not right. It's very, very hard to keep your legs straight, fully active. Lift your toes. You do have movement back, but what we don't have is the broken line. Okay, so get ready. Fire it up. Pull it in. Look down. Pull back. And all I can say is that if you stop with each repetition and try to reset the hips into their normal line, you will see just how much work that lower limb tibia is doing. So the tibialis, okay, right, there we go. The tibia is the bone, right? But we're working the muscles along that bone. Pull. Now, can you do alternating leg? Oh, keep the buns tight. Pull. Can you even get the foot up, right? If you can only lift your toes, then this is the purpose of why we're training this, because you have muscles that are supposed to be hard at work that with every step you take, they're not working. So we need to be able to not momentum rock back. Tighten your parts, make sure that you're getting the majority of your foot off the floor. And if you're like, I cannot believe that this would be as challenging as it is, maybe you're not experiencing any of that. But if you are, then it might explain a lot about your feet. Pull. And what do I mean by that? Why do your feet always hurt you? Release and relax. Why do your knees hurt you? Right? Because the muscles that are supposed to be taking the work are getting an easy ride. Now, just for the sake of our experiment, instead of getting on the floor and sitting on our knees, the chair provides a bridge point to make the movement less intense. So I'm actually going to start with my other leg. And some of you have done this in the gym with me, okay? So the chair, you got one knee on the chair, so you've got support. And what are you doing? If you know that you're really tight in the knees and the ankles because every time you go to sit back on them from a kneeling position, you can't get your butt to your heel or your feet cramp, then you want to leave your foot free of the edge of your chair. And then you get to use your body, right? How comfortable are you sitting down? For me, I can scoot myself all the way forward. I can make sure my foot is staying squared, right? I'm looking back at my toes. I want to make sure I pull my big toe back into the spot that it's supposed to be working, right? Because I don't want my big toe rolled under. And then it's just a matter of sitting down. Maybe you can get your entire foot supported, but it's the knee that's keeping you from sitting down. Then you just brace. You've got a strong body. Brace. If you can sit down, try to make sure your heel is under you and not curling. You don't want your foot to contour and roll in. Make it stay straight. This is the whole beauty of, for these few minutes where we're being very specific and intentional with our body, you want to train it to receive the right stretch in your best ability. And now push out of it. Walk around. Maybe you've got right and left sides that we know are different from one another. Maybe the other leg will have a different story to tell. Okay, so get yourself forward. I just know that I can put my leg as far forward as I can get it, right? This happens to be the ankle that I have rolled so horribly that the swelling in my ankle took, I would say, almost a year for it to go back to a point where I didn't look like I had a kinkle. I mean, visually, you know, when something is affecting your body, you see it and it looks so much more magnified than it really is. That wasn't anything that anybody else ever noticed about my leg, but every time I looked down at my ankle, I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't even look like it goes with my body. But finally, everything righted itself. I don't have dysfunction in it. I have no loss of motion. I don't appear to have loss of strength in it, but it still doesn't look the same as my left ankle. So, getting around your body to manipulate your own toes, like that might be the real challenge. Are your toes rolled? Can you grab each toe and give it a little tug? And that might be the hard thing. Right? Are you sitting up, bracing? My my method and the intention for me with you all is to not put you in the most uncomfortable position to prove anything. My release and relax. My mind tells me we need to have options, right? Not everybody can get on the floor. So if you know that you can use your band, give yourself some ankle distraction, right? You can use your chair, you can sit on your foot, right, to help stretch that. You can use your chair to help stretch your calves. Like, you don't have to go to the gym, but if you know you're really active and before you get ready to go do your walk, or especially after you come back from your walk, if you're not spending any time treating that very significant joint, then you might be someone who's prone to being uncomfortable. But your chair is a great support for you. So set that off to the side, grab a little drink. What shall we do next? You're done with your cushion, clear your space, and I wonder if you have your stick handy. All right. Okay. Can you, with your bent arms, just get around your body? There we go. Stick, it could be your light resistor band, it could be your towel, it could be your stretch out strap, it could be your yoga strap, right? The stick, um, because you can bend your arms and work whatever degree your shoulders permit you, right? Even if you can't, what if you can't get your arms down by your hips, but you can do this, like varying degrees, right? Maybe you're just drawing a little halo around the upper because that's what your shoulder will allow you to do. This liberty of being able to bend and extend will help you navigate that space back there, right? But in your most ideal position for your full test of shoulder range of motion, it would be shoulder dislocates, right? That's a funny word. And if you try to do that position without committing to like extension and pulling, so even though I'm using a fixed bar, my hands and muscles, when my arms are straight, I'm trying to pull my hands against the stick so that my shoulder muscles are active while I'm trying to sweep them over my head. And if you're using a band, pull it, make it longer, make it taut. If you find that it's hard to get your stick or band over the top of your head without you smacking yourself in your head. And now release and relax. All right. So your stick is going to help you with your IT band stretch, okay? This is a repeat pattern. And it almost looks like I'm just trying to reset myself for the right spot. I'm not. I'm pushing and pulling back. We have shifted, so this would be considered a little bit of a dynamic stretch, whereas the band and the holding pattern stretches are just static, right? So this, even though there's nothing like powerful and dynamic about it, it's a sweep. My receiving leg is nice and straight. I'm allowing my hips to just glide. And where the stretch line should be for you is this. If I had a big marker, right, I'd be drawing this big kind of oval around the top of the hip crest through a little bit of the front of the hip, right? So it's not like this itsy bitsy area. It's a pretty good mass that gets stretched. And if you're able to add your arm, how would you do that if your shoulder were bothering you? Put your hand on your shoulder, let the elbow go up, right? Push, push, pull back, push, about 15. That should be about 15. And release, other side. So your stick is opposite to the receiving leg. Okay, here we go. Push. Do you have to move your leg? Not necessarily. If I personally like the feeling of me being able to step my leg over, I feel like it allows me to go just a little bit further, but that's my end range. So I have people, when they cross their legs over, they feel so unstable that that instability doesn't permit them to really receive that extra little stretch. So there's no benefit for them to do that, right? So you figure out, do you want to have full moving part, or do you just want to be in rocky mode like that, right? But if you are not going to cross the leg over, at least bend it, right? Do about 4 more. Wow, and this side is just really tight. 1 more. Release and relax. Move your stick. We're not going to do any jumping or that change of direction step overs today. Take that, put it away, maybe grab a little drink. It's time for the hands and knees. So if you want to bring your mat down, maybe if you're not working on a really soft surface, you want another cushion for your knees. I don't think I need my Eric's pad, so I'm just going to use my little mat. All right. Come on down. This is going to be, I've been staying off my knees. Well, I had an incident. I have no idea how it happened. I would love to have video of what happened because I literally don't know how it happened. But we were bringing the boat, not the big boat, the little boat, right? And when I say little boat, you're doing opposite arm forward reach, or I should say alternating arm forward reach. So on Sunday, we brought the, it's called a center console. Okay, we brought the center console in, and we're putting it on the lift, and it's a remote controlled lift, right? So the lift is lifting the boat, and I'm trying to get off the boat onto the dock. I can't recall how it happened, but next thing I knew, I'm in the water, but I had some impact on the way down. I don't know. I must have hit the boat. I must have hit the boat and the dock. It's like, what's that game? Pinball, where the ball is getting smacked between the little paddles. That had to have been what I look like, because my entire body, there is not one part of me that has not been connected to some hard surface out there. So push one leg back, So I've been staying off my knee, not because I landed on my knee, but because my knee struck something, and I have this pretty good scrape on it. But since we're 4 days post incident, it's healing nicely. Are you holding? Are you looking at the screen? Is your body doing that? Right? Can you get your leg level? Can you take your hip, the cocked up hip, square them? Relax the head so you're not looking at the screen anymore. I want you to look down. I want you to look down as if you have an oval mirror on your mat and you're staring at yourself. And so that means you're going to have to tuck your chin a little bit so you get the best look at you. And then switch sides. All right. Opposite leg to your extending arm. Is the hand teetering? Is the foot smacking the floor? Every time you try to extend your leg, you accidentally are lifting it instead of lengthening it, and that's what's causing you to teeter. The leg is hip level. Square the hips, and then what's your arm doing? If you have a bum shoulder and you can't forward reach the arm, then I want you to pull it back. Make it nice and straight. Suck your belly up to your spine so you feel your buns and abs working. And down. And now take your body, push back. Where do your knees want you to go? Rock back. Come and sit with me. Pull one leg under you. Oh, that should feel good across your low back. How tight can you get your foot? Now, if your body, if you're working with mass and tight hips, tight low back, even though I said you don't need your pillow, but you happen to have a pillow close by, it does help to prop yourself up to help you. So I feel like I should have a shirt made, right? With some declarations. Assist, prop, right? There's one more, it's escaping me today. But why would we do this? This is another one of those moves that if we could find a way to use the band attached to a fixed object away from us, the band would be right at the top of the calf. The tension line would be in front of you, and you'd be pulling your leg, and the band would be creating this forward distraction. So much of our knee pain is because everything within the joint, the two limbs that those ligaments and tendons join, they're all getting mashed and gnarled up, and things are getting squished. So why tell me this? Why is it everybody that you talk to beyond a certain age is like, yeah, I don't have any more cartilage in my knees? Do you think our bodies were meant to just wear out? It's because our patterns don't allow us to get long. So between elbow joints, shoulder joints, ankle joints, knee joints, hip joints, all of that cartilage is just getting squished and rubbed, and then it's gone. It's gone. Switch. If you've never had it explained to you that way, that's what's happening. The lack of our muscles and bones tracking the way they're supposed to within the skeleton as it's perfectly anatomically correct makes tension positions and angular positions of contact that were never meant to be used that way. But how can you fix that? Right? It's hard to fix. So here we go. You're trying to tug the heel under you. If you're leaning back, you can lean back. I would rather see you lean back. I would rather see you get your foot closer to your bum. And instead of trying to rock into it and be really uncomfortable, lean back. But yet you still have your heel really close to your bum. Now, Just hanging out. What's your ankle doing? What's your big toe doing? Did your foot just kind of rotate and slide to its most comfortable position because that's how it's been trained to move? Track that baby. Toes, ankle, knee, hip. You prop yourself up as high as you need to so that you can get your track right. Only you are responsible. Only you, once you have the little tidbit of information, oh, that's how my body's supposed to move. That doesn't mean that it's not going to come with some great effort. The knowledge that you have does not mean that your body's automatically going to go into the right spot because you know that that's where it's supposed to go. You have to continuously build that control and the sensation of what is right. Gosh, that's a huge responsibility, right? No wonder why so many people are in pain. No wonder why people who set out to be active, release and relax, set out to be active, immediately set themselves off into an injury through no fault of their own. They don't, they just didn't know, right? Come back up to hands and knees. Phase 2. So round your spine, tuck your chin. I want your upper body to give your hips a little pushback, okay? So that though your hands are loaded, you want to feel like your buns are driving back towards your feet a little bit while you're arching your spine nice and high. And then gently release. Pull the shoulders out of the ears. Suck the belly up. See if you can get your shoulders out of the ears so that you can rock your head up and keep the hips pushing back a little bit. Here we go. The head relaxes, tucking of the chin, sucking the belly up, pressing the tops of your feet firmly to the floor. How much space do you have from the, let's say, the top of the ankle and a little bit of that shin to the floor? Are the feet so tight that the feet pull up and there's a big space there? Flatten them out. And when you flatten them out, do the feet roll? Make them go straight. Why is that so hard? Here we go. Feet are flat, feet are straight. Tuck the chin, arch the spine, squeeze the buns. And now as you come out of it, as you start releasing the spine, the shoulders pull away from the ears. Right? That allows your head to rock up without any pinching, and release and relax. So from your knees, if this is really uncomfortable, then put your extra cushion down, or if you don't want to get up, it could be something as simple as you just folding a little extra roll in your mat, okay? With sensitive joints, we don't want to set off the itises, okay? We don't want this, like people who lay on their hips and say, I got pain when I lay on my side, like the bursa sacs, the sacs. So you want to give yourself as much cushion as you can so you're comfortable. All right, what's our back foot going to do? Lean forward a little bit, take the foot, go into as full of a flexed foot as you can get, put the foot back down. Now, I had an interesting experience with a client the other day. We went into this kneeling hip flexor and quad stretch, right? So zip up if you need to go, I understand, but since we got started a couple minutes late, I want to make sure we get this last thing done on each leg, right? Look back. Are your toes surprising you right now? Like, the surprise for me is if I let my toe do what it wanted to do, I would have the majority of my weight just on my big toe, and the other toes It'd be like, what do I need those for on the ground? So how hard is it to get your foot to adjust itself so that all of your toes are participatory? And that might require you to do what I just did. Put a hand support down, take the foot, try to adjust the ankle rotation, shove the hips back a little bit as you bring the foot down so that you can make sure that your alignment is there. Zip and tuck. Now, your ability to stay in a nice flex and then take the hips and just, you're going to slide the bum under. Like we've got this zipper that comes from the back of the hip and it's going to go kind of around the bun and it's going to come up through the inner thigh and attach and zip back up at the front of the hip. So it goes under, comes up at an angle to the top of the hip. Don't lose the connection through your foot, right? Your body, once you tuck, your body can actually glide forward and back. And the sensation in your quad and hip will change based on where you are. If there's one particular spot that feels better, hang on to it. But I would say that you're feeling some stretch in your toes too. Release, relax, other side. All right. Be patient with yourself, right? I'm that trainer who, when I do the stretch with clients one-on-one, we take our shoes off. I'm the trainer that sits at the client's foot and tweaks their foot because it's a training thing. Some people can't get to their foot. Some people, even when they try to make an adjustment, can't articulate the limb right because they don't have control. So now, look down, give yourself some support, right? See if you can raise the foot, figure out the angle that you need to go at, lean the hips back. If you're nimble enough, you might be able to actually put hands on your toes so that you can get the toes to rest the position that they're supposed to be in. Each toe has a job. And now, once you get there, look at the heel. The heel should be vertical. You should have a nice straight line from your heel to your knee, from your knee to the hip, from the hip to the shoulder. Oh, zip and tuck. And I'll get back to my interesting story. Well, it's interesting to me because I'm fascinated by the body, right? Gliding, if that feels comfortable for you, enlist your zipper. The zipper starts on the back of the bum. It pulls down through the bum. It comes up from the inner thigh and it zips and reattaches and closes at the top of the hip. If you do nothing more than just get your zipper active, that will change everything for you. You don't have to move. So as I take this person who says to me, all I really want is to be able to move more freely. So we start doing some flexibility stuff and I put him into this position and he has a big toe that's so long that when we go into flex foot, none of the other toes can touch the floor. I'm like, that's really perplexing. Release and relax. And then I remembered years ago, I came across this little piece of information. You can stand up, you're done. I came across this piece of information that was discussing the shape of the foot. And you know how our bodies morph, our structures change, even our jawline, our teeth, everything changes, right? Good or bad. But I remember reading this article that it was just dissecting down the angles of your feet. And based on tight muscles, this is really fascinating. If you look at your foot, if your foot is angular, like quite an angle, it's from tight muscles that are pulling everything because our feet should have some kind of a line where most of the toes, Like, they're just slightly off from one another, not at a sharp angle, and so when he was standing and I was looking at his feet, he had such an angle from the big toe to the pinky toe because all of this muscle is really shortened up. So I'm like, "Man, I got my work cut out for me." However, it just supports that the things that I read, I never know when I'm going to be able to reference that and go, "Oh, well, now I'm actually witnessing it." But when you look at your feet, check out the angle. I would say that if your toes have quite a sharp angle from big toe to pinky toe, you're probably a person that has significant stability issues and pain. That would be what I would think. Now, I could be entirely wrong because that's just me not knowing